two modules. The first one will be general theory concepts on the reference management softwares and scientific writing. And the second one will be a practical demonstration of bibliography management software, that is Zotero. Uh, so now you can see that when we, as a researcher, when we start writing some thesis or some paper, etc., or any book or anything, any literature, scientific literature, we use or we come across the term citation, reference, and bibliography. Let's understand what's the difference between these three terms. The citation, it's a short note recognizing a source of information. For example, if you are recognizing a source of information or giving credit to a source of information where you obtain that original idea, then you have to insert a citation in the text, either it is a thesis or a paper or whatever form of literature that you are writing. The source paper should be acknowledged, the source idea should be acknowledged by inserting a citation. So which may be marked as a number in number format, or maybe say we can say it may be an author date format in which the author name and the year will be marked within the text that you are writing. So that is in-text citations is a part of the paper or the thesis or any scientific literature which refers to the original source of information. And that citation, once it is given within the text, it should be written in detail at the end. End reference should be given. Means at the end of the thesis or the paper, you will write a session with a title, a reference, and which contains a list of these cited references, including the author name, the journal article, or the book name, or the publisher name of the book, or the page number of the book or the chapter that you are using. All such relevant information will be in detail. It will be written at the end session, that is a reference. So usually a scientific literature, it is having two parts. That is a citation, which is actually marked within the text of the thesis, and the second one is the reference part, which is the details about the cited text, which will be provided at the end of the paper. Now there is another term, that is a bibliography. What is bibliography? It's a Greek word originated from bibliographia. It's literally book writing. And it's a list of the books or documents that you or in that particular subject that you are referred. So in the previous case, for example, a citation, the original author of the original or the original contributor of the idea is specifically cited within the text, within the correct paragraph or the correct sentence. Okay. So the idea is actually attached with the author name. But whereas in bibliography, it is not like that. You can read, say, 10 books, you can consolidate an idea and you can write. So at the end, you can just give the list of the books that you consulted. Any specific remark on any idea is not actually marked within the text. So that's the bibliography. So especially in scientific writing, we require citations and references because every idea, the original idea, should be marked and credited to the correct author or the from where you actually the original you obtain the original idea. Whereas in literature, for example, you develop a concept by reading 10 books and you write another book or another thesis, whatever. That means you are generating the idea by consulting many books. So in that case, you can't give for example, the original idea that you have developed, if it is considered with the 10 books, you can't write all the 10 books in every point of the paragraphs. So in that case, you provide a bibliography, which is a list of the books or the sources that you consulted during the development of the idea. A specific citation-like format will not be given within the text of the text or the paragraph of the thesis or the paper. So these are the two categories. That is a specific citation and reference, and also another category which is basically used for some literary works where books and other things you are using bibliography. So in our case, especially if it is a science group, we are actually interested in citations and references, which are very specific remarks to the original author of the concerned idea or concept. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Now, is a comparative account. For example, the meaning means a reference. Actually, it implies to the list of sources that has been referred in the research work, whereas bibliography is the uh, it's about a listing out of all material which has been consulted or referred during the research work. So that's one idea about the meaning. And in the arrangement, when we come to the arrangement, the references can be arranged alphabetically or numerically. There are two styles, order date style and a numbered style, which is used for reference in scientific literature. Whereas in bibliography, it can be arranged only alphabetically because it is not or it is never cited in the text. So if it is not or if it is never cited in the text, then you can't say list them in the order of appearance. So the only possibility is that you can arrange them at the end using say a format of a alphabetical arrangement. Now the next one is it includes only indexed citations that have been used in the assignment of the project. So a reference, if it is inserted within the text, then only it is added at the end of the reference or at the end reference. Whereas both the index citations and other sources, whatever, all these things will be listed at the end, irrespective of its use of in the uh, text paragraph in case of bibliography. And the next one is a supporting argument where a reference can be used to support an argument. For example, if you say you got some results in your research work and you, first of all, in the results, you will mention that one and you will state that say this is our observation, this supports our idea or the original hypothesis, and previously the same idea is or some similar observations were made by X and or Thomas et al. Or something, some other or others et al. Or specific remarks will be given, and that our results were actually it is at par with the previous observations that is made by so and so others. So that's why that's how you write the uh, scientific literature. So if your observations that needs to be supported or validated with some previous observations or previous works, such specific references were used by inserting citations to such a supporting materials. So that's for a reference. Whereas in bibliography, it cannot be used for supporting any specific argument because specific references were not used for a bibliography. Now, these are the two styles, order style, which is also known as a Harvard style, and numeric style, which is also known as a Vancouver style. And another point is that there are various variants of these two styles. That is a order or Harvard style and Vancouver style or numeric style. There are various variants are there. For example, say if you look into a biology journal database, maybe thousands of journals will be there. Each journal will have some specific format in which the journal demands your paper to be communicated. Maybe some will ask for you to write the author name, then journal in italics, journal name in italics, or then author name should be separated with by dots and commas, etc. Specific arrangement of the references is demanded by various journals. So journals may use uh, their own styles or style sheets, but still it is it falls in one of the categories like author date or in the broad categories of the numeric style. So even though there are thousands of references or citation styles used by specific journals, you can say that these two this will fall within the two categories of the author date or the Harvard style or the numeric style. Okay, how it is written or what are the components that is included in the detailed reference part that may vary according to the journal. For example, you see the case of an author date format. In case of an in-text citation, you will say that you will cite the text or the concept. You will write the concept like contrary to the popular perception, violent crimes have been shown. Like that, you are writing the thesis. And in between the thesis, after stating a fact or your observation, you will give a citation in the author date format by mentioning the author name and the year of the publication. And another option is that if the author name is already written, like James and Peters have argued, in that case, again, James and Peters should not be mentioned within the brackets. Okay. So in that case, you will give only year in the brackets because already the author name is written in the text, something like that. So if you are using it or writing a thesis in author date format, it is actually basically written in two styles, where the author name and year will be given within the bracket, or if its author name is already written in the text, then year will be given as a citation part within the brackets. So these are the author date formats. And the corresponding references will be given at the end reference part in alphabetical arrangement, because we are not using any numbered styles. So in that case, the end references will be generated in alphabetic order format. The first, for example, the author with the name A will be listed first, then the other name starting with B will be listed second. Like that, it is a sorted. So this is how the author date format is used in literature. Now, in the numeric system, you will write the text part, and each citation will be specifically written in the order of appearance. For example, the first cited reference will be written first with the, or it will be marked with the number 1, and the second cited reference will be marked with the number 2. And in that case, the bibliography part, sorry, the reference end reference part will be arranged in the order of appearance of references with the 1, 2, and 3. And this system is a numeric system or the number style, numeric style, or as I mentioned, that is the one core system. So these are the two styles that you are using, and any variant which is used by a specific journal and their style sheet can be used by while you are writing the thesis or paper. So now when we come to the actual problem, why you require a software for the management of a bibliography or the reference. So when we start writing a thesis, previously, when I did my research 25 years back, then I used to go to say IIC library for obtaining the reference, because at that time most of the articles were not online, available online. So if you want to get a reference, that will be basically with a cross reference that is obtained by a paper. For example, a related paper will be there. You will read many papers, and all the end references will be checked. And if it is interested, you will make a list of that interested papers in a written paper, and you will go to the IIC library or some other library where the physical hard copies were available. You will take the printout. It may take maybe 1 or 2 years for at least some persons to collect all the references or the literature, corresponding literatures. Then you will go through all these things and you develop the concept and you will write the thesis. And during the writing of thesis, what you have to do is you will you will cite the text within the writing part, and also you will give the end reference in either author date or a numbered format. That was done previously also. But one issue is that when, say, your supervisor asks you, so you actually did say a numbered style format, then your supervisor asks you to change one paragraph, for example, from the 6th position to 1st position. Your supervisor advises you to move one paragraph or one concept from 6th paragraph position to 1st paragraph position. So if it is a numbered style, all the references or the numbers which is inserted in between should be renumbered. Accordingly, the end references also should be renumbered. And if it is an alphabetic order format, then it will be a little bit easy, because you can, at the end reference, you can corresponding position, at the corresponding position you can place it. So usually without a software, people will go for a alphabetic order format, not the numbered system, because it is quite impossible for you to correct all the numbers manually. So in that case, if a new reference is inserted at some point, or a new reference is, or a reference already existing one is deleted from some point, author date format is easy to handle in the conventional system, because you just need to delete the end reference from that point or insert that at the corresponding alphabetic order part. That's all. And a sorting, simple sorting in the Microsoft Word itself will be sufficient in that case. But still, uh, say you communicate to one paper. For example, you have written a biology paper or some other science paper. You communicated with uh, one journal, for example, Journal of Biotechnology or something. Then the journal rejects. Normally nowadays, within few hours, within even if it is not suitable for their journal, the editorial review board itself, it will not go for the reviewer. At the editorial desk itself, it will be rejected. Within a few hours, you will get a mail stating that this is not suitable for our journal. You may look into another journal. So maybe you have written this paper by spending at least maybe a few weeks by arranging all these things and correcting all these things according to the journal's format. But the rejection will take only a few hours. So what happens is that if you want to go for another journal, again you have to work with the references by changing the entire citations and references in the second journal's format. It may take a lot of time. Before communicating it to the second journal, maybe you will spend at least a few weeks by correcting all these things, but the rejection may take only a few hours. So if you want to publish in a good quality journal, what you require is to communicate it very fast, do it systematically, and maybe in my own experience, I scored about an impact factor of 3.5 or 5 by communicating to say 3 or 5 journals, because means 4 or 5 rejections will be there. But from after the rejection, if you want to communicate with the journal, if you use a reference or management software, within a few hours you can rearrange the paper according to the requirement of the second journal, because everything is computerized. You don't have to go to the specifics of the journal reference system and manually changing it. So it means your resubmission to the second journal, that time, maybe time and effort will be substantially saved, and which means you can go through a high quality journals, even if a few journals were rejecting your paper with minimum work, minimum labor. Otherwise, after 1 or 2 rejections, most of the students will become desperate, and they will go for some low quality, low impact publications. That type of issue is there. So if your workload is minimized in terms of the communication, so you don't bother, because if your paper is rejected, okay, I will change it within 1 or 2 hours to the according to the requirement of the second journal. You will communicate it to the other one. So within a few days, you can communicate to the second journal, and after a few resubmissions, you'll find a good journal with a good impact in Elsewhere or Springer, something like that. So that is the advantage of using a bibliography management software, and by changing from say uh, a manual reference management system to a software-based management system. So in the problem statement, we can see that if you have a topic of research in which you are writing a paper, you will consult many articles, books, and conference papers, etc., which are your literature, which needs to be cited in the text of the paper. So as I mentioned, the citations will be given within the text, and the references or end bibliography accordingly, it will be marked at the end of the text. So while writing the paper, every article, every book, and every conference paper that you are that you are consulting, that will be cited within the text, and the corresponding reference list or bibliography will be generated at the end. Now, why it is so important? Because it is referencing is an established academic practice, because we want to give credit to the others. If you are taking an idea from somebody or borrowing an idea from somebody, you have to give proper credit, and it shows where you got the information. If the correct citation is given, the one who is later on reading your paper will actually get the clear cut idea from where you are actually you got the original idea. So if he want further information on that, nowadays a simple click on the reference number will take him to the corresponding original article site. So he can go through the details of the concept by just clicking on that reference. Another one allows other researchers to trace your sources of information quickly and easily just by clicking. And another one, it acknowledges the work of other researchers. You need to avoid plagiarism. if it is a concept which is taken from other people, certainly that credit should be given by giving a citation and reference. And another one, it protects against accusations of plagiarism. So these are some of the requirements for giving a proper referencing. Now, our learning objectives is to understand the perils of the reference management system and understand different referencing styles, and to understand uh, citation management softwares, various softwares available, and then use of database and search tools available for getting the literature. Then importing reference information from such databases to your software, integration with word processors and formatting and advanced features. So the last portions will be handled in the second session, uh, uh, where we are handling the Zotero software. But anyway, these are the various objectives of your session today. Now, uh, what are the problems with citation management? You can see that you are going to read a few papers. So now you have a hypothesis in your hand, or you have a topic in your hand where you are going to do research or write paper. So usually you will read a lot in the related area. So which is the prior art collection or the review of the literature, something like that. So how will you remember each of them? Say you got 100 papers, most relevant papers in your area. You will read all of them. So how will you remember all of them? It is quite difficult because nowadays for every topic that much references are there, or that much resources are there. You can't remember all of them while writing. So you have to properly organize your literature so that it is easily accessible when you are actually starting to write. Okay, you can go through hundreds of literature or literature sources or paper, but before writing the thesis, you need to properly organize, and then while writing, you have to immediately recall the correct reference to cite at that point. So how will you remember all of them, each of them? How do you plan to store the paper? For example, 100 papers are there. How will you store the papers? A simple folder, by creating a simple folder and dragging and dropping or copying and pasting all the 100 references into a simple folder will not be that much easy, because after some time, if it is that much 100 papers are there, then it is quite impossible for you to open each and every 100 paper to find the corresponding source and data. Okay. Now, how do you plan to store your notes? Usually, in the previous classical method, you will write your notes on each paper on a paper or a physical or a white paper, and that will be used. That note that you are preparing from the corresponding papers will be used while you are writing. So, a hard copy prepared note is the usual practice. Another one, how are you going to find or search these later? So if you are preparing some notes, how will you find it, or how will you organize these notes and retrieve it later? So these are some of the problems that you are that you are going to face while you are reading and preparing the notes. Then another one is the problems during the writing. So in that case, adding and removing citations within the text, because if your guide asks you to remove the reference or one of the reference or citation within the text, the corresponding change should be made at the end of bibliography also. If you are inserting one, that should be added at the end. If you are removing one, all the references should be renumbered in the number format, and the corresponding changes should be made at the end reference. Okay. So changes of citation styles while writing, and that is required when one journal is submitted in author date format because it is their requirement, and the second journal that you are going to communicate may be preferring a numbered system. In that case, you have to change the entire references into from the author date style to the number style, which is the basic requirement for the second journal that you are communicating. So the style change of the citation style is another problem. Then another one, ensuring the quality of the references. Nowadays, if you just type any topic in Google, a lot of references or literature will be listed in the Google Scholar. But one problem is that many of them will not were not in the Google Scholar. The quality assurance is that much not there. So which means even non-peer reviewed or journals, or say not scientific journals will be there. So every article, everything will be there in Google Scholar. So the quality of the references that you are using is another problem, because say if you are communicating a paper to an Elsewhere or Springer journal, they will use an automatic system in which your reference will be validated using their software. So if you are say using 30 references in a paper and submitting it to the journal review system, immediately the software will analyze all the references that is given, and the software will validate whether it is a properly indexed journal or not. And all other non-cited non-standard reference will be rejected, or it is unverified. It will mark like that. So if your paper needs to be accepted by the reviewers, that quality of the reference should be good enough. One or two non-standard reference will be accepted, but if most of them will be a non-standard one or non-peer reviewed journals, then certainly at the editorial desk itself, your paper will be rejected. So that's one of the issues. So the quality of the references that you are using to write the paper should be good, and how you are going to verify that one. Then another one is reference verification systems or publications. Already I mentioned, because that will check the quality of the uh, papers that you are using. Then citation management tools make all these things, previous problems, that is easy. So we have a lot of alternatives. Many citation management softwares are there. And today we will discuss one of them, that is a free software, Zotero. How you are going to use it, that I'll show you that. But anyway, citation management softwares make all these problems go away, and it will be once you started using the software or such a citation management software, then you can just ignore the citation part. Computer will manage everything. After inserting the citation, you don't have to look back, because all the problems will be solved immediately, because whatever your requirement, it will be taken care of by the software. So here, as we mentioned in the previous case, we have various sources which needs to be cited. So the Zotero is a database that will stand in between, and that database software will manage your references accordingly. So if you change any position of the citation, the corresponding change will be reflected in the end bibliography, and that part is done by the software. You don't have to manually edit and replace the software or the references at any stage. So that's the role of such a reference management tools. So these are the reference management softwares available nowadays. EndNote is one of them, and ProCite, RefWorks or Reference Manager, Zotero, then Mendeley. So these are some of the softwares, and there are some items like BibTeX or TextStudio, etc. This BibTeX is another software which is basically used by say chemistry and physics people or mathematics people, because usually most of us will depend on Microsoft Word as a word processing software. If you are writing the thesis, we'll write it on Microsoft using Microsoft Word or LibreOffice or some other alternative, a word processing software. But where we have a lot of equations and mathematical expressions, such chemistry, physics, and maths peoples, they prefer to write their thesis or papers in Tech Editor. Tech, that is a command line driven editor. So they also have another option of reference management by BibTeX and other things. So in that case, is there anyone from mathematics or physics background in this group?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm from statistics.
Okay. In that case, anyway, I'm not going to the details of that one, but if you are interested, you can later on contact me how to use that one. Okay.
So we are
Uh,
familiar.
oh, you are familiar with big text. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. 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 Fine. So anyway, for the other peoples, we are actually integrating our Microsoft Word or so LibreOffice, such text editors with these bibliography management softwares. So our choice of citation management software, which software should be used? How will you prefer a software? So you can have a product comparison metrics even in Wikipedia, where the different features and the supported operating systems and other things were given. You can go to that. And other considerations were network effects, which means which options are used by the department or peers. Because if I am writing a thesis, or if my student is writing a thesis and he is using EndNote, then I am bound to use the same software, because if I want to make a correction in that thing, I want to use the same software. So a peer group or the department peers or a research group need to stick on to a specific software basically, because if the group leader or the other group members want to change make the corrections on the same paper, then usually you require the same software, and even with a collaborative editing option should be there. So that type of supports are provided by the softwares. You need to stick on to a common software. Now in my lab, previously we are depending on EndNote, but nowadays it's a proprietary software where we require license. So we moved on to the free software Sotero. So all my research students were now working on with the Sotero. So even though other alternatives like EndNote or Mendeley and other things are available, a research group should stick on to a particular software, because the file that is prepared in one software needs to be opened by the supervisor or the other collaborator using the same software. That's the problem. So which options are used by the department and the PAs is that needs to be considered. You have to use the same one. Which ones are integrated to your database, and which one works better for your target publishers. For example, say some publishers may provide a style sheet or a reference style sheet which you can simply download, and using that style sheet you can format. But maybe Mendeley or Sotero may provide a lot of style templates for their own journal articles. So you can download and use that one. So if any journal specifically provides a style sheet for any software, you can use that software for writing that paper. But in some cases, the journal may not provide the style sheets for some softwares. So in that case, you have to either prepare it manually or you have to use another alternative software. Now another one is who owns the software? Is it a paid one, or is it a free software? Is there any open license? Is there, etc.? That needs to be considered. And another one, is there any provision for backup? And nowadays, most of the softwares provide online backup facility or a cloud service where you can store your references and you can share with your collaborator, like another uh, researcher who is working on the same paper, or the research supervisor who is working on the same paper can have the same database accessed through the online database. And another one, move between the softwares. Is there any, for example, after some time, you prepare a software, and then is it possible to change the database to another software? For example, initially you are working on with EndNote, and later on you feel that you are going to avoid EndNote and you want to migrate all these things to Sotero. Is it possible to migrate your database to another software? So that's one of the concept. And which one work with your operating system and browser and your, for example, in some cases, for example, Linux, the EndNote may not provide support for Linux. It's a proprietary software, Windows-based software. So if your computer is exclusively your department is working on with the Linux, you can't install EndNote. Whereas Sotero and Mendeley, they provide Linux versions also. So in that case, if your computer or the OS supported in the lab is Linux, preferably you will go for a Sotero or Mendeley, etc. So these are various considerations which software is used in the peer group or the research group, or what is the operating system in which you are the most of the labs computers who are working. All these things needs to be considered by before selecting a software. Is the bibliography style uh, you use is available from the journal site? So that's one more point, as I mentioned. So this is a comparison of the softwares. The EndNote, that is the oldest one, I think. It started in 1988. It's a proprietary software which you need to pay for the license, but it provides a free online service, but still the software is highly paid. And another one is Mendeley, which is also provided by the Elsewhere Group, and they also provide a free service, but the storage capacity, online cloud storage capacity, is limited to 2 GB. But still, it's a good software. If you are most of the people were working on Mendeley, it provides most of the features. Zotero and Mendeley are both equally good in terms of its free access and collaborative editing and various other features. These two are equally good. But anyway, I am sticking on to Zotero because it provides some other features. Anyway, I'm uh, more interested in that one. So these softwares, especially Zotero and Mendeley, they can their database is say interchangeable. If you want to change the data into Mendeley at a later stage, the entire database can be imported and or exported and imported into the Mendeley software. So the Zotero is another one which I am going to handle today. Uh, the one of the issue is that Mendeley provides 2 GB of free cloud storage where you can store your references and their PDF backup. But Zotero provides only 300 MB free usage, but above which you require a subscription-based service. For example, a 2 GB service is obtained with say about 2000 per year. That much licensing fees is required for higher capacity storage, cloud storage services. Anyway, there are a lot of other features like integration with the various browsers and easy download of the references to the database, etc. That is provided by the Zotero. Anyway, that part we will discuss while actually doing that, demonstrating that Zotero. Okay. So this is a comparative account, and EndNote is not a free software. It's a proprietary paid software, whereas Mendeley and Zotero can be freely accessed and used by any researcher. So the practical choices are Zotero, Mendeley, and EndNote if you are interested in a paid software. And for the mathematics and physics people, BibTeX is another option. Now, we're coming to the EndNote, which is a proprietary software. There are some pros and cons. It is easy to use. It is a Windows type interface is only available, no Linux, and it's convenient and automatic downloading and some say online update of the database. For example, if your data is partial, it will automatically check and the remaining data will be downloaded from the database. So there are it's more convenient. Automatic downloading and update option is provided with by EndNote. Then it's flexible. Many reference types and output styles compared to the other free softwares. More reference styles, which is suited to many journals, were available in the EndNote database. And it's accurate. You can keep track of publications used in your research. So many pros are there. And it also requires more time to learn because advanced softwares require more time to learn because there is more options are there. And some output styles may not be available or suitable because if a style is a reference style or formatting style is not available for any journal, it is quite difficult for you to create a style or your own. So that's one issue. And not all online resources allow automatic downloading. So as I mentioned, it will update from database or download automatically your interested citations. But many online databases may not support automatic downloading. In that case, the automatic downloading feature, which is previously mentioned, may not work. So free and open source alternatives of these EndNote is Mendeley, Zotero, LaTeX, BibTeX, etc. And as I mentioned, Mendeley is a desktop and web program produced by Elsewhere for managing and sharing research papers, discovering research data and collaborating online. It combines Mendeley desktop, a PDF and reference management application available for Windows, Mac and Linux. So all the three OSs like Windows, Mac and Linux all are supported by the Mendeley. Whereas in Zotero, it is supported in Linux and Windows systems. Then and a Firefox and Chrome browser extensions are available, because if you are opening a paper in say Chrome or Firefox, a simple click on that Firefox add-on will enable you to download the entire references into the database. So the Firefox browser can be integrated with Zotero. So just by clicking on the open reference in the web page, it will be automatically saved in your account, online account. So that type of integration with the softwares, Firefox browser softwares were available for Zotero, which we will see practically in the next session. So coming to the importing of reference information. So we have various publishers like some aggregator services. Like aggregators means many journals will be journal databases will be searched simultaneously, and all the data will be presented to you. That means PubMed, JSTOR, iExplore, etc. They are like browsers or integrated search engines in which it searches across all the available journal databases and fetch the data according to your query. Then there are specific sites of Springer, Elsewhere, and Chemical Abstracts which provides their own publications. And there are books which may be the data from for books may be available from Amazon or Google Books or Library of Congress catalog of the US. And such online catalogs are there where if you provide, say, the ISBN number of the book, the corresponding data can be easily downloaded. Then other websites and other resources. So literature means scientific literature means mostly papers, published papers, scientific articles. But there are other categories like conference publications, research theses, websites. So a reference or a literature may be in any form. It doesn't mean that all are scientific journal articles or published peer-reviewed journal articles. There are other forms of literature which can also be cited in your publication. So importing from other sources like EndNote filters and means you can import from EndNote and sorry, a downloaded uh, reference can be imported. Means say you locate a few papers in Springer database or a journal database. You can select all the references and download it in BibTeX format or some other format, journal database format, and that file can be imported into the corresponding reference management software. That is possible for EndNote, Mendeley, and say Zotero. All the software support import of the references, downloaded references can be imported into the database. That also we'll see in the practical session. And fat finger method in which you actually type the reference. For example, a non-standard reference which is not available online. In that case, you can give all the details by manually entering, creating a new entry, and you can create a new reference by inputting the author name, journal name, and the page number, volume, DOI number, whatever. All the information can be manually inserted and create a new reference. But that is not advisable because, say, you can see that the usually um, a standard reference with a proper DOI number will be already present in the database. That can be downloaded. If it is not, it is better to exclude the data that reference because it is not a standard one. It is not. It may not be a peer-reviewed one. It is better to avoid that reference instead of going for such a fat finger or a manual creation of the reference. It is better to avoid such references in when you are writing a good quality paper. But still, that option is there. For example, a newspaper article or some other local reference or a thesis in your own lab. So you want to cite it because it is that much crucial. In that case, you can create a new reference of your own. Now coming to the bibliographic databases, a bibliographic database is a database of bibliographic records and organized digital collection of references to be published scientific literature, includes journal articles, conference proceedings, patents, books, etc. So all these bibliographic databases that may be a specific database of Elsewhere or Springer or PubMed, whatever, any database. They are bibliographic database and it contains all these such articles like journal articles, conference proceedings, patents, books, all such informations were available in bibliographic database. You can connect to that database and download the details of that article by just giving the unique entry. For example, from the PubMed, if it's a PubMed database is used, PMID is a unique identifier. By just giving the PMID, you can download from the database. Another one is Crossref. Crossref means you provide the say DOI number. Most of the articles nowadays, good quality articles will have a DOI number. You give the DOI number, and from their bibliographic database, you can download the enter information. And another one, for example, Library of Congress or Google Books, etc., where ISBN number can be used as the unique identifier from which that bibliography database you can download your uh, corresponding reference. So they generally contain very rich descriptions in the form of keywords, subject classification terms, abstracts, page numbers, all other relevant information were are stored in the database. Usually, in computer terms, we call it as metadata. So every article or every information in the database will have various fields: author name, journal article name, their publisher name, their the page number, start page number, end page number, DOI number, PMID, so abstract. So these are all various fields in the database. So for every article, such informations will be there, and which is known as metadata. That metadata can be downloaded by giving just by connecting to the database and giving the corresponding entry, unique entry. The information related to the bibliographic records are named bibliographic metadata. So these are some of the online database samples. For example, PubMed, most of the biological and science related articles will be there. ISI Web of Science is, of course, you require a paid subscription for access to the Web of Science database, and the Scopus database, which is another one, which also requires a paid subscription in which you can search the database and download the data. Then JSTOR, then ProQuest, Science Direct, IEEE Explore, Shodh Ganga, which is from the UGC, where the thesis and other articles were stored, InfoTrack. So you will develop personal favorites by experience because many many of them, especially in the science field, will prefer the PubMed because is having a comprehensive collection of most of the articles. So and it's curated in a very good manner, which means the quality is assured if it's taken from PubMed. Uh, and most of the journal validation systems will clear articles which is collected from PubMed. No invalid references will be stored there. And basically, if you are interested in any source, you'll learn to depend on that. Okay. And my advice is that instead of anyway, I have not listed the Google Scholar here because Google Scholar may even index anything because without Google Scholar index all the articles which is listed and even uploaded by the uploader itself. So means if you have a paper, you can upload it, so which will be shared to everyone. And the Google Scholar doesn't validate the validity of the paper, or which it doesn't check for whether it is a peer-reviewed one or not. So that means the low quality references can also be listed in Google Scholar. So preferably, such journal review systems will depend on Web of Science, Scopus, or PubMed, etc. So such database, if you are writing a review or something, it is better to download such standard references which is obtained from such databases. So this is a comparison of the data, and this is I think 1 year old data is there. But still, what I want to demonstrate is that there is a significant overlap. For example, the Scopus and Web of Science data actually it overlaps, but only in Scopus and only in Web of Science is also there. Means some of the references were unique to the database. And here another one, Scopus and Dimensions, Scopus and Scopus. Various databases will have significant overlap, but still some references will be limited to that particular database only. So that is required when, for example, there is a method known as meta-analysis, etc. no, normally or systematic review, which are some of the new terms in which if you want to write a research article or sorry a review paper. Conventional review actually it uses say randomly you will search the internet or somewhere and you collect all the gathered informations available to you. You start writing on that. But in a systematic literature review, you collect all possible listings from all the databases. So that means you have to collect all, say, even the unique ones available in various databases. This, for example, the only in Web of Science, these articles can be downloaded only from that particular database, not from the other. So, which means you have to go and search all the databases separately, merge them together, and remove the duplicates. Then only you can have 100% representation of all the available articles because there is a unique references which is present in such databases. Still, many of the articles will be shared in between the databases, so you can download any of them. But if you want 100% representation of all the information in that area, which is actually required when you are writing a systematic review, which demands all the articles listed in the area irrespective of the presence of the data in the database, you require all the articles from all the databases. In that case, so you have to separately download all data, then remove the duplicates. So which will leave you a complete collection of all available literature across all the databases. Okay. So which is required for systematic review. And nowadays, there are a lot of papers published in that area. Even without any, say, wet lab work, you can publish an article using a systematic review. Uh, Many of the high impact journals were actually publishing systematic reviews. There are proper procedure for that, and you don't have to go for a wet lab experiment for publishing such articles. Now, databases and search tools. So there are some libraries like there are general topic searches for all media types like search the library catalog, specific searches for articles and electronic text, then articles and database searching, then journal specific searching, then locate e-journals. So there are a lot of say options which is provided by such databases, and this first listing is from University of Library, that is Arizona University Library. They provide many types of searches, and what I listed is here is that many database provides you with various options for various searches, catalog search, database search, or journal search, or e-journal search, etc. So many types of search services were provided by such libraries. Google Scholar is another one, which gives you an elaborate list of the articles. And the problem with the Google Scholar, as I mentioned, it is that, say, the quality of the journal articles that is listed in the Google Scholar is not assured. So in that case, such articles were, I advise my students not to go for that. It is better to use, say, PubMed or Web of Science or Scopus if you are going for some systematic review, etc. Now, this is a another one elsewhere where you can directly go to this website and access the data, their own database, Ovid, Scopus, Willy InterScience, Web of Science, Embase. These are all separate databases which is having their own collection of journal articles and their metadata. You can visit any of them and download by providing a proper query or search term. You can download all the articles that is available in there or the metadata of that articles available in that database. So such specific databases are also there, and many of them say share this information. For example, 90% of the articles which is available in Web of Science can be downloaded from Scopus also, and the uniqueness may be only 10% or less than 10%. So now the next point is on integration to the word processors. So you have the software or a bibliography management software now. And today we are going to handle Zotero. The second one is we have a database from where you download the data. That may be PubMed, Scopus, or Web of Science, or even Google Scholar. If there is no other option, Google Scholar. Any source can be used. And the next stage is the integration to the word processor, because our intention is to write the thesis by integrating with these software and database, and write the thesis by using that, right? So which requires a word processor integrated with the corresponding software and the database in which it is the data is stored. So for which you use some plugins, where Zotero is having an MS Word plugin, or LibreOffice is the open source format, the application that is the corresponding to the Word. If you are familiar with Linux, you might have aware of the LibreOffice, which is a counterpart of the say Microsoft Word that can be used. So it also provides with a plugin. Then another one, Mendeley, if you are using Mendeley, also having there is a MS Word plugin and LibreOffice plugin. EndNote also provides you with the Microsoft Word plugin and LibreOffice plugin. So all these softwares which is mentioned will provide you with a plugin which enables you to integrate with the Word software, and cite your references from the database, and write the thesis or the paper that you are interested in. So we'll see how it is done later. So now you can create your own databases with the reference by incorporating author, paper title, journal articles, publication, and more. So as I mentioned, new data can be incorporated in any database by incorporating all these things. A new reference can be generated in any of the database by providing such basic informations of metadata. So coming to the part of metadata in an article, this is the last slide. So this is a paper, a reference paper, for example. The metadata may represent the journal name, the title of the paper, the author name, then when it is published, where it is published, accepted date, published date, keywords of the paper, abstract of the paper. All these things constitutes the metadata, which will be represented in separate fields in the database of the software. So using that metadata, the software will generate the reference or bibliography according to your requirement, or according to the requirement of the corresponding paper journal that you are interested in. So this type of data, that is metadata about an article, is stored in the database. So a reference stored in the Zotero database will have these parts, like the metadata part includes the author name, title of the article, journal name, year or date in which published, then keywords, abstracts, then it's the DOI number, page number. Here the page number is also there, right? Oleum, then year, page number, etc. All these things constitutes the metadata of a research article that is stored in the database. Using that metadata, the corresponding references will be generated by the software like Zotero. So this is the general concept in which we have to choose a software, maybe a free software like Zotero or Mendeley. Then you have to select a source of the reference like PubMed, Web of Science, or any other database where your actual articles, interested literature can be expected. From that source, you will download the references or the metadata into the database. Now, the last part is to integrate these database into a Microsoft Word or some other word processing software, and cite and generate the bibliography in that word while writing the thesis. So this is the different parts or different steps for the writing of a thesis with a bibliography management software. So now the next session we will see how it is done with Zotero. Okay. So this is about the general concepts, like the requirement of a software, and what's the nature of the data that is stored in the software, Then what are the possible databases in which you can look for getting the data. So this is all about the basic concepts, and in the next session we will go to the Zotero, the application of the Zotero, how it is installed and how it can be used for generating the bibliography. Any doubts?